Hi everyone, welcome back to MEG Marine. In this video we're going to work on replacing one of the alternators on one of our engines. If you've been following this series, you know that our boat has two completely separate 12-volt systems. Each system has its own start batteries, is charged by one of the engines, and runs half of the electrical system in the boat, half of the 12-volt electrical system in the boat. And when we bought the boat, the previous owner only had one battery installed, so a lot of things didn't work. And one of the things I noticed when he showed me that the engines ran is that only one of the engines was charging. The port engine seems to be charging, the starboard engine doesn't charge. And so we're going to confirm that again today before we do any work. But once we confirm that it's the starboard engine that doesn't charge, we're going to go to work. I've looked at the old alternator, and it's in pretty bad shape. A lot of corrosion, there's rust dripping out of the alternator, and so I elected to just buy another alternator. They weren't that expensive, and so I have a brand new alternator. We just need to pull the old one off the engine, put the new one in place, hook it up, and make sure that it works. So let's get started on that. We're going to go up to the bridge, we're going to crank up the engines, we're going to confirm that it's the starboard engine that's not charging, and then we're going to go to work pulling the alternator off of that engine and putting on the new one, and hopefully that's going to fix our problem. So let's get started on that. Alright, so here we are up on the bridge of our boat. We have a voltmeter here for the starboard engine, and then we have a voltmeter here for the port engine. This voltmeter looks like it's been replaced. It's a slightly different model than the others, and the original voltmeter is down in the cabin. So if it turns out that this was replaced because they thought maybe it wasn't reading correctly, we may try to put the original one back in place just to keep everything consistent. And so yeah, we're going to go ahead and fire up the engines and see what the voltmeters say, and then we'll know what we need to do after that. So let's start with the starboard engine, reading 12 volts. You can see we continue to read 12 volts. So over here on the port engine, we actually read a little less than 11 volts, but you can see that that engine is charging. And so yeah, it appears that we need to work on our starboard engine. So let's go get started on that. Okay, so here's our alternator that we need to replace. It's difficult to get to, generally speaking, and even more difficult to try to film. There's a couple of wires on the back. There's one right here, and there's one right over here that have to be disconnected. And there's a large pivot bolt right there, and then down underneath, you can just barely see it, there's a bolt that controls the adjustment for tightening the belt. And so we have to get all of those loose. And so I'm going to do the best that I can to film this, but like I said, it's going to be difficult at best. And so we're going to start with trying to get this bolt right here off, which is the main hot wire. This is the one that it actually charges through. And normally this wire is hot from the battery, but I've confirmed that with the switches off, I turn the battery switches off. With the switches off, this wire goes dead. Right, so that one's disconnected, and then we have the other one way in the back here. There's a third wire floating around here. I'm not sure what that wire is for. It's not connected, and on the other engine it's not connected either. So I don't think it's needed. I think what happened on this alternator is this wire, let me see if I can get in to show you. This wire right here broke. And so I might have been able to fix this alternator, and I'll probably keep it for a spare, but I decided to replace it with a new one. Alright, and so next we're going to try to get this bolt under here. This is the bolt that controls the tension of the belt. Let's see if I can get the camera to point down there. There we go. I'll put my wrench on there and see if I can pop that loose. That bolt does need to come all the way out. And then we have to get this big pivot bolt loose. That's this bolt. Yeah, this bolt right here. So I'm going to attempt to turn it from the other side. Yeah, I was afraid of that. I don't really have the right tool to hold the nut on the other side. I don't have a wrench big enough in the tool kit that I brought with me. So I'm going to have to try to hold this nut with this crescent wrench while I spin it off on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and get the belt off of this before I get it all the way loose. Oh. That probably would not have been good to have dropped that down in the bilge. Alright, and that takes our alternator loose, at least. I'm going to take it up top. We'll work on getting this bolt out of it and make sure our new alternator looks right. Alright, so here's our new alternator next to our old one, and they look exactly the same. You know, I'm thinking that based on the blue paint on this one, this may be an OEM alternator, which is pretty impressive considering this is a 1994 boat and it's 2024, so that's 30 years. And the engine has over 1,000 hours on it, so if it's OEM, it lasted a long time. Everything looks the same on this one, I think. Now the connection's at the back. This is our main hot wire, and this is where that small wire went. They all look good. Now the only thing we need to figure out is what we're going to have to do to get this bolt out. Yeah, looks like it's walking out okay. Yeah. So we'll put that one back in here. Yeah, I think we're ready to put this one in. So let's get this down in the bilge and see if we can get it installed. Alright, so back here in the bilge, we're going to attempt to slip this back into place. We're going to put that big nut on the back side. And I'd like to try to get the adjustment bolt at least started. I'm going to go in this hole right here. I've just kind of temporarily put the belt in place. It all seems to be fitting well. I'm going to try to tighten this bolt up just a little bit. That bolt went in pretty hard into the housing of the alternator, but I think it's okay. All right, and so now we have to figure out how we're going to tension the belt and tighten this bolt down here. And so I have a pry bar that I think I can put right up here. Yeah. And I'll be able to use that to tension the belt while I tighten this bolt down here. And that's my light starting to fade again already. Alright, so we're looking pretty good. We need to do a final tighten on the top bolt. And then we need to put our two wires on down here. We need to make sure I have the right size tools for that. I don't think they're the same size as the originals. So give me just a second to gather some tools and I'll be right back. Okay, due to the failing light, I elected to go ahead and make the electrical connections without boring you with those details. So all the wires are hooked up. All we need to do now is turn the batteries back on and start the engine and see if our new alternator charges. Cross your fingers. Alright, here we go. There's our voltmeter. 12 volts. happy to see that. And we'll confirm once again that our port engine seems to be pretty inaccurate, but given that it's showing at 11 and a half, then with the engine not running it's below 11, I believe we can assume that it's actually charging. So we may try putting that other voltmeter back in if I can confirm that it works. So yeah, I think we can call that fixed. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Check my playlist, there'll be more videos. There's already some more out there, and there'll be more coming after this one about repairs we're going to continue to do on this boat. And yeah, stay tuned. We'll see you on the next video.